Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
I love you,
It's a
Randy.
figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
We're going to start winning again. We're going to win so much. We're going to win at every level. We're going to win economically. We're going to win with the economy. We're going to win with military. We're going to win with health care and for our veterans. We're going to win with every single facet. We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more. We're going to win so much.
The legislation I just laid down is called the Healthcare Freedom Act, and it restores freedom to Americans that Obamacare took away. It does so in a number of ways. First, the Healthcare Freedom Act repeals the core pillars of Obamacare. It eliminates the so-called individual mandate that forces many Americans to buy Obamacare insurance they don't want, can't afford, or can't use.
The average working family is going to struggle to get health care, even more than they have now. And why is this being rushed through this way? Why is this being done in the dark of night? I can't believe my colleagues are proud of it.
When I was diagnosed with kidney cancer and facing my first surgery, I heard from so many of my colleagues, including so many of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, who wrote me wonderful notes sharing with me their own experience with major illness in their families or with their loved ones. You showed me your care. You showed me your compassion. Where is that tonight?
Mr. Portman. Mr. Reed.
The ayes are 49. Yeah. The nays are 51.
Woo!
The motion is not agreed to. The amendment is not agreed to.
So, Mr. President, this is, clearly a disappointing moment.
I think he cried a little.
From skyrocketing costs to plummeting choices and collapsing markets, our constituents have suffered through an awful lot under Obamacare.
Yeah, 7 years of you doing nothing but letting it, suffer and taking money out of it. Oh, it was so good last night. Who stayed up? Who stayed up? Yes, Scotty stayed up watching the C-SPAN. He's now figured out that the C stands for crack. Oh, it's so addicting. Did you stay up last night? Did everybody watch that? That was so good. Where was McCain? They called his name. He wasn't there. He was in the cloakroom with, I think he was in the cloakroom with Pence. And Pence was trying to talk him into it. And he said, no, because Lindsey is a yes. I can't figure out for the life of me. Yesterday they had this little press conference. The Lindsey Graham did, the John McCain did, who was the other one? The Ron Johnson did, and some guy from Louisiana that we don't pay any attention to. Yeah, they all had this big little dog and pony show, and they trashed the bill. They trashed it the same way that whatever I said about it, okay? That it was going to repeal the employer mandate, that it was going to repeal the individual mandate, that it was going to not specifically cut Medicaid, but it was going to give governors the ability to spend that money in a giant slush fund. Everything I told you, they said that's what this bill will do, and quite frankly, we're not down with it. And then all three, well, there were four of them yesterday at this press conference, just to refresh, okay? He says, we're not going to vote for a pig and a poke, and, this is no good. And it was Ron Johnson, Bill Cassidy from Louisiana. It was, McCain. It was Lindsey Graham. This is half-assed. This is no good. This is a disaster.
What we will do is move the process along. Our Freedom Caucus friends, who I disagree with a lot, but sometimes I agree with them. Here's what Mark Meadows said. We would send a skinny bill to the president. The question, the answer is no. So it becomes the vehicle for conference. Mark Meadows agreed the skinny repeal would be dead on arrival in the House, but he understands it's just a vehicle for a conference. Here's the problem. The whip in the House is suggesting to some that whatever we send becomes the final product. There will be no conference, and I am not going to vote for the skinny bill if I'm not assured by the House there will be a conference where my idea and other ideas can be taken up so we can actually replace Obamacare.
And then he voted for it. It just blows your mind, doesn't it? Bill Cassidy, he was also there at the conference. I don't want to play any more video till after the break because there's something wrong. But so Bill Cassidy said the same thing. Ron Johnson said the same. We're not voting. We can't. There's no bill. What are we amending? We don't know. Haven't seen. Last night around 10 o'clock, did you see, for those of you who really watch Crackspan, for those of you who really are addicted and needed the straight to the vein China White, you didn't want it interrupted by any pundit, by any opinionator, by any Scaramucci stories, but you were fixated because your health care was on the line, whether you got it from your employer or you get it from the exchange like I do. Everybody was in jeopardy, in peril last night. It was really something. It really was. And after this big, press conference yesterday where you had 4 Republican senators saying we're no's, we're no, and then watching Mike Pence go, in his car, and he went to the Senate because they expected that he would need to break the tie. They thought it would be 50-50, that they were just going to lose Collins and Murkowski, right? And they didn't, because McCain was like, when they were interviewing him, after this press conference, he said, absolutely not. I'm not voting for this. This is a shell of a bill. We don't even know what we're voting for. It's not going to happen. We're not going to do it. There's no way, no way, no way. Then the reporter said, so are you really a no? And he said, you have to watch the show tonight. So I stayed up last night. I suffered. The Democrats were amazing. Okay, the Democrats, because they had the truth on their side. And so their arguments were very powerful. And Mazie Hirono from Hawaii, man, she just blew my mind. That woman's got kidney cancer. And so, and she didn't even make herself the subject of the healthcare debate at all. She started out talking about her little sister who died at home and how she was born at home in rural Japan because they didn't have healthcare coverage, and her sister had pneumonia at 2 years old and died in the house. And she just started crying. She goes, "Obviously, this affects me. Give me a minute to get myself together." These were amazing speeches. They were phenomenal because they were rooted in the truth, and so everything they said was so powerful and so poignant and so on point. And then we had fat ass Mike Enzi get up and start reading from a document that was written by a lobbyist. And then he finally says, I didn't even write that. He didn't know what he was talking about. He had no earthly idea. So Patty Murray tried to interrupt him and say, excuse me, with all due respect, can we make a parliamentary inquiry at the chair, Mr. President? And they said, Mr. Enzi, will you yield? No, I have an hour. Oh, I had to say, and by the way, I hope you just, go to C-SPAN and watch that debate and just, you can, when you get to cspan.org, you can choose anything you want to watch, and then you can search that particular video. So there's a box, and it'll say search this video for text or for a person. Just search for Mike Enzi, and you tell me that man is lucid. You tell me he's sober, or then you're going to have to tell me he's just plain stupid, because it's one or the other, and he's the chairman of the budget committee. Mike Enzi from Wyoming had no earthly idea what he was talking about. Not a clue, not an inkling, not an idea, nothing, because that is the Republican Party. They don't know. That bill did not come out till after 10 o'clock last night. It did not even exist until lunchtime. They literally wrote it during lunchtime yesterday and didn't hand it over to the Senate until an hour before they voted on it last night. If this was junior high school, your teacher would have, said, you really need to put more effort into your work. They had 7 years and they did it at lunch. Oh my God. That was just so amazing. All their genius at jamming crap through the system. They're essentially the X-lax of legislation. This is what they are. And I couldn't believe they finally crapped out that bill like they had their Movantic moment, like Frank. And they crapped out this bill, and then they just said, okay, vote on this. And everybody was like, what? And so of the 4 that had this press conference that were no's, 3 of them were yes, and then John McCain.
For a commercial-free, on-demand, whenever, wherever listening experience, visit RandiRhodes.com for your personal premium podcast today.
Yeah, you could buy tile at a chain store if you wanted to. You could wait for a kid to try and answer your questions about what's this made of, or how do I install it, or what's in stock. But what if you wanted serious craftsmanship? What if you wanted custom design, handmade, to order from your imagination, or an inspiration photo that you love? Probably you think you can't anymore, but I did. When it was time to shop tile, I came across a family-owned business that still handcrafts each and every individual tile, matching your colors, your inspiration, your design. Tempest Tile Works. They're based in Portland, Oregon, and they still handcraft the most magnificent tile. Let them match to your fabrics or to your countertops or to anything you can envision for your bath or kitchen. Teeny tiny tiles to oversized, their art or yours. It's all doable, it's all affordable, and it's all individually made just for your project. Visit Tempest Tile Works and look at their amazing gallery of designs and styles, and give up the chain stores. Tempest Tile Works, custom made. TempestTileWorks.com.
Whether you're listening to me, Mark Levine, each Monday and Wednesday,
or me, Leslie Marshall, each Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday,
you can hear us from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time on the Progressive Voices Network.
Here's a sample of what you'll hear. Vice President of the United Steelworkers Union, the USW, Mr. Fred Redmond. Why do you think there's this belief that there's voter fraud when the evidence just does not bear that to be true?
I think that this president have yet to accept the fact that he lost popular vote, that more people in this country voted for Hillary Clinton than voted for him. And he's a duly elected president because of the Electoral College system. But the fact that he cannot claim a victory by winning the majority votes of the American people, this president just possessed with that. And I believe he convinced himself that the only reason he didn't get the majority of votes is because there had to be some sort of manipulation at the ballot box. In his mind, he cannot understand, or he has not accepted the fact that more people voted for Hillary Clinton than voted for him.
The Trump administration formed a commission that's actually led by the Vice President Mike Pence to investigate what they contend is, quote, widespread voter fraud. Now, widespread, folks, come on. Widespread, we would have evidence state by state. One vote is not going to change an election or nearly 3 million popular votes. Is this, with Donald Trump, in your opinion, Mr. Redmond, not just about perpetrating the myth that there's widespread voter fraud, but perpetrating this myth in order to feed this ego of his?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's exactly what it's about. He's trying to convince his base and himself that he received more votes than the Democratic candidate, and that's just not true. And when you think about it, Leslie, for a person to go, wake up in the morning, go to the polls, show some false identification, vote on somebody else's name, risk getting caught, risk going to jail, or risk getting fined to cast one vote, we have to ask ourselves, how much sense did that make? Or will a person who is an undocumented worker in the country, would he go to the polls, false ID, in order to cast one vote and risk being deported? There have to be some common sense to play into this.
How do we stop the real problem, which is not voter fraud, but people trying to oppress and suppress the votes of so many people, especially in certain demographics?
First of all, it starts in the states. I mean, we have to elect state leaders, who's going to forcefully enforce voting laws in their state, and also be open to putting laws in place to make it easier for people to vote. And then the whole issue of gerrymandering is one that we have to address from the federal level.
Again, that's Mark Levine every Monday and Wednesday.
And Leslie Marshall each Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday.
From 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time on the Progressive Voices Network.
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
We're going to start winning again. We're going to win so much. We're going to win at every level. We're going to win economically. We're going to win with the economy. We're going to win with military. We're going to win with health care and for our veterans. We're going to win with every single facet. We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more. We're going to win so much. I love you, Albany.
Give me a break.
Seriously, dude. What was that last night? That was not winning. That was, I swear to God, Mitch McConnell cried a little. Did you see that? I could watch that all day long, all day.
So, Mr. President, this is, clearly a disappointing moment.
I think he cried here.
From skyrocketing costs to plummeting choices and collapsing markets, our constituents have suffered through an awful lot under Obamacare. We thought they deserved better. It's why I and many of my colleagues did as we promised and voted to repeal this failed law. We told our constituents we would vote that way, and when the moment came,
you lost.
Most of us did. We kept our commitments. We worked hard, and everybody on this side can certainly attest to the fact that we worked really hard
at lunchtime to come up with something that we could just vote on, that we all hated, just to get it into conference. Who the hell votes on a bill that they don't want to see become law? That is the only question you should have today for every member of the Republican Party. How dare they vote on bills that they don't want to see become law? This is the most, look, the Republican Senate, they've been in, the Senate and the House have been in Republican hands since the first term of Obama's midterm election, okay? And they have been dysfunctional ever since. And this dysfunction has got to stop. And that is why John McCain was the only honest person in the room last night. The only one. And did you see him? He came out that, he missed the roll call, okay? Because they were already up to P. L-M-N-O-P. They were already up to P when he finally showed up because Mike Pence was up in the Senate, expecting to cast the tie-breaking vote because he really thought he could talk McCain into voting for a bill that McCain doesn't want to, see become law. And that is what they said yesterday. They said they needed assurances that the House of Representatives would not take this product that came out of the Senate, whatever it was, because remember, yesterday they didn't even know what this bill was. It had a name, but it didn't have any text. That's a problem. And they were saying, we're not just going to vote for a pig in a poke. This is a disaster. We need assurances. If this doesn't go to the House Conference Committee. After 7 years, what in the world made them think that all they had to do was vote for a bill they didn't want to see become a law and then push it over to the House and Senate conference committees that would have been made up by a majority of Republicans, and suddenly, I don't know what, they would channel a brilliant health care plan after 7 years of not having, they're not the vessel. God did not choose them to be the vessel for these great big ideas about governing, about fixing, Obamacare, which obviously needs some help. There's 38 counties. What do we have? Like 6,000 counties in the United States of America? There's 38 counties that don't have more than one insurance company on the exchange. That is not an implosion across the United States. And in places where you have good governors, they have actually taken steps to shore up those exchanges, to shore up the people that are participating, to, extend the Medicaid cover, whatever. But, the amount of lies that they told was unbelievable. And so they finally had to vote on something. And after 7 years, they decided to use their lunch hour to write something. And everybody was like, no, we need assurances that whatever piece of crap comes out of this Senate, it will not become law. I couldn't believe that was the tactic that the genius, Mitch McConnell, they think he's such a tactician. He's so smart. Listen, it's what I keep telling you. Republicans cannot govern. They are obstructionists, and that is what they've done for 10 years. Their goal, Mitch McConnell's entire goal in the first term of Obama was to deny him a second term of Obama.
Our top political priority over the next 2 years should be to deny President Obama a second term.
That was it. That was their entire agenda for the first term of Obama, was to deny him a second term. Then you had them coming out saying, we have to defeat him on health care. It will be his Waterloo. It will break him. That was Senator Jim DeMint, remember? It will be his Waterloo. It will break him. I mean, he sounded like something out of a sci-fi movie, because he is something out of a sci-fi movie, but this was all they did was obstruct, okay? And now it's time to govern. And I swear to God, they said things like, well, Enzi, last night on the Senate floor, you have to watch this. You have to watch it. It is so scary. It's like the most, forget Stranger Things, forget American Horror Story, okay? This is the scary, even Black Mirror, White Bear. That one stayed with me. Oh, that one screwed my head up really bad. It's about torture. It's really bad. But it's scarier than that to see that the chairman of the Budget Committee is this guy, Mike Enzi, who has absolutely no continuity of thought, no idea, doesn't even understand Obamacare, let alone what he needs to do to fix it or shore it up or help Americans, lower the premium, whatever. It was frightening to watch him. I mean, just so freaking scary. And he's just like reading something that somebody else wrote, and he doesn't understand what he's saying or what he's reading. It was just, it was horrible. But anyway, they literally had the bill at lunchtime. This is the bill after 7 years that America deserved at lunchtime. And, the people that were speaking saying they were blaming the president now. The whole GOP is blaming the president. I swear to God, I saw it this morning. There are all these GOP members. Well, the president didn't sell it. The president didn't understand it. The president didn't have any ideas for it. The president didn't have a plan. So therefore, he couldn't tell the American people about the plan. It's all the president. Whoa, it's getting really freaky. Because they don't know how to govern. Obviously, you look at Donald Trump, okay? Donald Trump does not know how to govern. That is why the White House is in turmoil every day. It's utter chaos. It's crazy. You have newscasters that can't even read the transcripts of what his communications director is saying. I mean, it's so bizarre. It's so unacceptable, and it's such chaos. And the simple explanation is they don't know how to govern. They never did. They are obstructionists, and that is the entire reason why the GOP exists, to obstruct Democrats from moving us into the 21st century, because they take us right off the cliff every time they're in charge. We have Black Monday, we have Black Friday, we have the stock market crashes, we have people losing their houses, we have 800,000 jobs a month are bleeding out of the economy, people are being foreclosed on. I mean, total and utter chaos. And you know why? You keep electing people who crap in gold toilets to be your standard bearer. It's never going to happen. The closest you got last night was John McCain walking around like Russell Crowe in Gladiator. Did you see the move? He went like Russell Crowe in Gladiator. Yeah, well, he's like 80, so he'd be more Charlton Heston in Spartacus. Or was that Burt Lancaster? Gerard Butler? Are we anywhere near McCain's time frame for pop culture? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, that was, and everybody else that gave this horrible press conference yesterday, we're not voting for this bill, where they all freaking voted for it.
What we will do is move the process along. Our Freedom Caucus friends, who I disagree with a lot, but sometimes I agree with them. Here's what Mark Meadows said. We would send a skinny bill to the president. The question, the answer is no. So it becomes the vehicle for conference. Like it's just suddenly going to come from, like manna from heaven. If you just put House members in a room with Senate members, then somehow manna from heaven will come down, and suddenly guys like Mike Enzi will understand what the flaws in Obamacare are and fix them, even though they haven't done it in 7 years, and even though the Senate could have taken all the time it wanted to come up with a fix for it. But Mike Enzi last night stood on the floor and he said, this was his excuse, I swear to God. He said, well, the reason why we haven't come up with a bill in 7 years, we didn't know that Trump was going to win.
We didn't know that he would be the president. We didn't know if we would keep our majority. They had the House. They had the Senate. Anything they would have done that would have been constructive and helpful to Obamacare, Obama would have taken very seriously and signed into law, because Obama was the first one to admit that it had flaws and it needed help. Anything that they would have done. But they were obstructionists. They said their entire reason for being in the Senate under the leadership of Mitch McConnell was to deny Obama a second term. That is what he said. That is what they meant. And that is what they did. So they never took steps to. And when I watched him last night, that crazy, I mean, it was the most frightening thing, because you don't realize how far gone some of these old bastards are. You just don't realize how freaking far out of the mainstream they are, how far out of your lives they are. But you know what? And today, what did Trump tweet? Let it implode. Let them eat cake. I thought he understood what Bastille Day was when he went over there with Macron and said his wife was in great shape. I thought he understood. But this is what he tweets out this morning. You know what? F you all. I hope it implodes. I hope everybody loses their health insurance. Screw you. F you. Bite me. And John McCain, you know, nothing like a brush with your own mortality to bring out the maverick in you. So thank you for that. But, you know, I couldn't believe Lindsey Graham was like, half-assed is not okay. And then he votes for half-assed. He actually voted for it. So did Johnson, who, I mean, you know, what he said yesterday was like not noteworthy. And then Ted Cruz, you know, you've been lied to. You've been lied to so much by the Democrats. Really? What is wrong with you?
The 5 years I've served in the Senate, there's no issue I have fought harder on, devoted more time to, than stopping the disaster that is Obamacare. And mark my words, I am committed to this fight. As long as there is breath in my body, I will be fighting for the working men and women of this country.
What a liar.
Hurt by Obamacare, and I believe it will be repealed. No party can remain in power by lying to the American people, and I hope and pray that our party doesn't try to do that.
You've lied to the American people. You have lied over and over and over again to the American people. And obviously last night, you, with the majority in the House, with the majority in the Senate, and a Republican president, you could not repeal a health care plan that is just growing more popular by the day. You had no plan. Everybody knows the emperor had no clothes, no bill, and so, you know, we were thinking about calling today's show Kill Bill 2, you know, a Bud meet Black Mamba. Black Mamba meet Bud. You know, the greed going through the money, and there's a snake in there, just bites your face off. But we didn't call it that because there was no bill to kill. Bunch of liars. David in San Francisco, happy Friday.
Oh, happy Friday, Randy. Long time. I think it's the first time I've heard your show since you got back. So.
Oh, wow. Welcome back.
Yeah, no trouble. Hey, let's see. The management skill of Trump, to me, is, you know, certainly at risk. And you're familiar with his credit rating. A lot of the allegations about his financial ties to Russia are based upon the idea that he's such a bad businessman that no bank in America would lend him money anymore. And
that's right.
Yeah, and so he's basically gone to organized crime in Russia to get loans, and that's the real purpose of his trying to cover up his ties to Russia. In fact, it kind of even gets into the, you know, if you look at his bad credit rating, if I remember right, his average for paying debts is 30%.
Hey,
so,
listen, this guy sticks a shiv in anybody that does any work for him. So why would anybody that works for him now think that they're so special that he won't betray them?
Right. Yeah, that's just what I'm leading up to. So maybe he's part of the leak that's dribbling this Russia stuff out. So
well, you know, what a week this was. I mean, just think about it. It's so hard to even remember Monday, right? Because so much goes on. But Monday, we had Jared Kushner behind closed doors at the Senate Intelligence Committee. Then we had the House Intelligence Committee. Then we had Tuesday was the bizarre Boy Scout Jamboree. And then Tuesday also we had Oh, my God, there's so much that went on. The Boy Scout Jamboree, then, Jared had to go talk to the House Intelligence Committee. And then Wednesday we had... some
more sessions.
We had him going to Ohio, making some strange speech there about how his glorious election again. The Washington Post scored it 29 lies in 26 hours. Thursday, we had Bill Browder testify. Nobody in the media covers that Russia testimony. And then yesterday, everything's upended by Scaramucci's vile, phone call with Ryan Lizza. I mean, this thing is in total, utter turmoil. He's a lousy businessman. His businesses have been bankrupt 6 times.
Clear for takeoff. Randi Rhodes Air Force. Air Force. RandiRhodes.com.
You're listening to WIN, Workers Independent News, a diversified media...
The 5 years I've served in...
I'm Doug Cunningham. U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren says the Republican efforts to destroy Obamacare piecemeal through a skinny repeal isn't a compromise and will destroy the most critical parts of the Affordable Care Act. If Republicans are successful, she says, health insurance will be unaffordable for millions of people, especially those with pre-existing conditions.
This isn't a more moderate version of the Republicans' ugly plan to repeal the Affordable Care Act. This isn't compromise. In fact, this may be the worst idea they've had yet. Because if Senate Republicans vote to repeal the individual mandate, they're getting rid of the linchpin of the insurance markets in this country. And that's because this provision, the one that the Republicans want to junk, is what keeps the price of insurance affordable for people with pre-existing conditions.
Warren says the callous attitude from Republicans about what repealing the Affordable Care Act will really do to endanger the health and lives of millions of real people is reprehensible.
Senate Republicans who voted to move forward with their effort to rip away Americans' health care are not listening to the people they represent. Their vote was irresponsible. It was reckless. It was cruel. It was immoral.
UAW President Dennis Williams, in a letter to union members, says he is appalled by an alleged criminal misuse of funds by a Fiat Chrysler executive and a former UAW vice president. Williams says the UAW has zero tolerance for corruption or wrongdoing of any kind. The UAW says the alleged criminal conduct by the late General Holyfield, a former UAW vice president who died in 2015, was a betrayal of trust by a former member of our union. A former Fiat Chrysler executive was indicted for conspiracy and other federal crimes for allegedly embezzling funds from a workers' training center in a conspiracy with the former UAW official. No union dues were involved in the alleged crime. The UAW is conducting an internal investigation into the allegations in the indictment. Industrial global union affiliates worldwide, including in the U.S., are welcoming a stated commitment from Rio Tinto to improve that huge company's relationships with trade unions. Rio Tinto is the second largest group of mining companies on the planet. An Industrial statement on the new development said, quote, Industrial welcomes the commitment and we will invest in developing and monitoring this new relationship. Rio Tinto has made a policy decision to change the culture of the company. This is a groundbreaking development, and it's long overdue for this global giant to recognize the role and importance of trade unions, end quote. You've been listening to WIN, Workers Independent News. For more information, visit workersindependentnews.com.
Tales of American Political History with Clinton Porter Hackney.
We've been talking about the efforts of Robert Neighbors to lead Indian tribes to reservations, preventing them from annihilation. Neighbors and his escort arrived at the Oklahoma reservations with somewhere around 1,500 American Indians. Legend has it that before leaving them, he tried to shake hands with each one of the Indians. He left them on September 6, 1859, for the trip back to Texas. He arrived in Belknap, Texas on September 14th and stopped at the county courthouse there, spending a few hours to write a report of his trip. While he was inside, a follower of John Baylor, who sought to eradicate Indians, hid behind a chimney outside the courthouse. When Neighbors walked out, he was shot in the back. The county sheriff was alerted, but Neighbors died there on the street with his head cradled in the sheriff's arms. He was 43 years old. This is Clinton Porter Hackney at cphackney.com.
We did it, you bastards! We're live! And it only took 2 years. Okay. All right. So we're back. We're live. And you're there. And we're here. And ain't that great? Now, let me just tell you that if you want to listen whenever and wherever you'd like to listen, just go to randyrhodes.com, click on podcasts and swag, and get your podcast commercial-free, on demand, on any device. randyrhodes.com. Open all day, every day.
The Randi Rhodes Show is live on randyrhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or progressivevoices.com now.
All right. Tom in Santa Cruz.
Hi, Randy. I've got a fearless forecast about what I think is going to start happening between Trump and Putin in the coming days and weeks.
Rootin' tootin' Putin?
Yeah, it looks like Putin, what you were talking about yesterday is that Putin was backing Trump, hoping that he could get rid of these sanctions involved with the Magnitsky Act.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, Trump can't do that. There's even more sanctions coming down. And now he falls flat on his face in front of the God and everybody with the health care bill. Putin must be thinking, well, that was a bad investment. I put all this time and effort into this clown and got nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
So I predict that at the very least, he'll just throw up his hands and say, screw it, let the Americans fight it out because they've got nothing to gain for it. I think he assumed that if Trump became president, he could just lift these sanctions.
Yeah, of course.
Because neither Trump nor Putin understands the American system of checks and balances. Because Trump thought he could too, and probably told Putin that. So I think that it's a kind of a rude awakening for Putin, and it's going to be a very rude awakening for Trump.
Why? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I mean, at the very worst, he could release all that information he has with the PP tapes and all that.
The PP tapes.
Yeah, but I think Trump would have to do a little bit more to take him off. You know, lost in the noise of Scaramucci yesterday was the news that Putin was going to be imposing some sanctions that look like a direct parallel to the ones Obama imposed. You know, forcing us to cut embassy staff and possibly seizing.
Well, that is in retaliation because Putin does understand checks and balances, but he just doesn't understand why Trump is such a weak leader that he can't control
that's the other thing.
His own party. Okay, he's got a majority in the House, he's got a majority in the Senate. And what did the Senate and the House just vote on? They voted on putting additional sanctions on Russia and not allowing the president to use his power to either put on or take off sanctions. So, Putin, this is why Putin retaliated. And what he said was that we have to, take some of our personnel out of our embassies. And he's doing that. Not that the American people give a rat's ass, it doesn't affect their lives. He's doing that to humiliate Trump. This is the first pass at the humiliation of Donald Trump at the hands of a foreign adversary who he made a bed with. And the Congress, his own party, served up so much failure this week. It's unbelievable. First of all, they interviewed his son-in-law. They interviewed his son. They interviewed his former campaign manager. They subpoenaed documents. They held a hearing with William Browder, who is the exact person that Putin hates the most on this planet because he's the person who lobbied Congress for the Magnitsky Act, which put sanctions personally on Putin and his henchmen. And now the Senate and the House has taken away presidential powers because they don't trust Trump to make decisions based on foreign policy with Russia. And so they've just hobbled him. They cut his legs out from under him.
And if there's if there's anybody who has more contempt for weakness than Trump, it's Putin.
Well, he's disappointed. There's no doubt about it. So that's what happens, though, when you go to a foreign adversary and you say, make me president and I'll take care of you. And that you is Putin and the other one is Trump. This is what you get. Judy in Seattle.
Hello there.
Hi.
Long time no hear.
Yeah, how you been?
I've been okay. It's been a long recovery for my husband. We're still in the middle of it.
Oh, wow.
So... Yeah,
he sounds fine to me.
He says he's not dead yet.
I hear you.
Anyway, I just wanted to tell you, I just got done filling out my ballots because we have a local election, city and county here. We have mail-in ballots. Everybody has you're automatically registered to vote when you turn 18. Everybody has a chance. You can drop them off. You can stick them in the mail. In liberal land here, this is like, a no-brainer. And I look at the rest of the country, and it's like watching a train wreck in slow motion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just, this whole thing about registrations and voting and him, I think one of Donald's main goals is to see if he can completely wipe out anything that has the name Obama on it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And it's only because Obama made fun of him
at the dinner. Yeah,
at the dinner,
yeah.
They laughed at him, and he
a lot.
Yeah, and this was his goal. I'm going to get even with this man. I'm going to wipe him off the face of the earth.
Yes, because he's a vindictive, obnoxious, rich a legacy who inherited a lot of money from his dad. And this is and also he was sent away as a boy. His parents couldn't stand him either. His other brother committed, alcoholic suicide, drank himself to death. And Donald Trump is a lost boy, is what he is. He's just a child, and he thinks that this is the president of the United States. A childlike, arrogant guy who craps in a gold toilet is somehow going to care about ordinary people and their health care. That's a joke.
And what really, I think that what would be nice is if one of the Democrats went up there had done it during the health care thing and started making statements about the closed door crap and how unfair this was,
right.
and actually what they're doing is reading transcripts of exactly what Mitch McConnell and Ted Cruz and Paul Ryan had said in 2009, and just quote them right back.
God forbid somebody should ask Donald Trump, okay, and this is why they don't get to ask the questions, and he only calls on, ridiculous people. But God forbid a reporter should ask Donald Trump, what is in that last bill that you liked? He wouldn't know, just like Mike Enzi didn't know because there was no bill. This is the most ridiculous sham of a votorama I ever saw in my life. And, I'm addicted to the C-SPAN. This was crazy last night. It was off the hook. It was the most bizarre process. It was the most bizarre bill. The bill turned out to be 8 pages. And in that 8 pages, it took away the individual mandate, took away the employer mandate, gave Medicaid money to the governors to do what they wanted to with. That was the skinny repeal. It was an 8-page piece of crap that they wrote at freaking lunchtime. You talk about half-assed. That's what they came up with after 7 years.
Yeah, and it went right next to the what was it, the tax bill, which is like 2 pages long.
Yeah, no, Trump's tax bill, his tax plan is 1 page.
Oh well, I'm sorry, I doubled it, but I think it's just extraordinary that even though it lost last night, it only lost by 1 vote.
Exactly.
All of those other people.
That's what shocked me. When I saw that press conference yesterday, I grabbed it, and I have it. But when I saw that, and I saw Ron Johnson, and I saw the guy from Louisiana, and I saw McCain, and I saw Lindsey Graham together, I said, oh, there's 4 votes. Those are 4 no's. They're all saying it's half-assed, it's a disaster, it's no good, it's the worst, it's not enough, to undo. And then they all vote for it except for John McCain, who comes out, and gives it the Spartacus, Well,
and then they're sitting there talking about the fact that they wanted to make a deal with Paul Ryan to not vote for this thing so they could vote for it. It's like, what the hell is that?
When did we become a legislature that votes on bills they don't want to see become law?
Yeah.
I couldn't even. So when I saw these 4 Republicans, stupid me, I took them at their word. Never do that, people. Never. And I thought there's 4 no votes. So this is going down tonight. I mean, I knew it wouldn't pass. I told everybody at the beginning, all you got to do is watch for the final bill. It's not going to pass. This isn't going to happen. Don't worry. And I tried to, get people to calm down at the beginning of the week. Okay. That don't drive yourself too crazy. This isn't going to work. It's not going to pass. It can't, it won't. Believe me. Believe me. It's not going to happen. And of course it didn't happen, but you're right. When you see 4 people say it's a disaster, 4 people call it half-assed, 4 people call it a pig in a poke, 4 people say it sucks, and then all of a sudden, all those, except for 1, 3 of those 4 vote for it. I mean,
I just and what really bothers me is that they're going to go back to their constituents and sit there and say, well, I tried to repeal this. I tried to do what was best for you guys, and look, all these other people blocked me. What is that?
It's a lie. Oh, I just got noticed that Donald Trump tweeted, looks like Reince might be out on his ass.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he just wrote, I'm pleased to inform you that I've just named General Secretary John F. Kelly as White House Chief of Staff. He is a great American.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if he notified Reince Priebus before he tweeted.
I doubt it. But
maybe he's on vacation and he's listening to it in his car.
Reince, you sold your soul. You made the Faustian deal. What made you think he was so special he wouldn't backstab you? Okay, so now we're into the Scaramucci years, the Scaramucci months. Because we had 6 months with Spicer, right? And Spicer, I told him too, he made a deal with the devil. And the devil takes his payments on the installment plan. It's 6 months for you, right? And now he's out the door. And we were grieving. It was like a breakup. We lost Sean Spicer and we inherited Sarah Huckabee Sanders. We were like, well, she's not entertaining. So at least if you're going to lie to me, make me laugh. You know what I mean?
Yeah. At least stumble over it a little bit. Yeah.
But now we got Scaramucci. I mean, he's.
Oh my God, he's. This kind of reminds me of the mob.
Oh, he's
the mooch.
Yeah, I mean, I said he's a cross between Henry Hill and Tommy in Goodfellas, right? But he's sort of a Pesci, Leota hybrid. But you know what? Last night, Anthony Marintelli, okay? He was on the President Show on Comedy Central, and he played Anthony Scaramucci. And let me tell you, that's the exact right fit.
That is, yes.
That's the exact. Hated it. That's the guy. That's him.
Yeah, I watched the President Show, and it's like, it really does tell you something about this country when you have a half-hour weekly program that sits there and spends its entire time mocking the president and the vice president.
Yeah. Yeah, and that there's no shortage of, it's Mario Cantone.
And no shortage of material.
No shortage. Here, I'm going to play this. I don't know if it'll play. Hang on.
I'd like to introduce you to my favorite new team member who I will eventually betray, Anthony Scaramucci.
That's him.
I love the president. I love it. I love you.
I love you.
I love you.
I love you.
I friggin' love you. Thank you. I'm going to fire so many people. I don't know who it's going to be, Reince. But I'm going to get to the bottom of the leakage in the White House. You hear me, Reince? There's an old Italian expression my mother used to use when somebody hurt her. She'd say, stick the umbrella up my ass, but don't open it.
Wow! I love ethnics.
So classy.
Real classy. Yeah, I mean, but that is it. It's Anthony Marintelli. But Mario Cantone is Anthony Marintelli. But look at that. I mean, he's the perfect Scaramucci.
Oh yeah.
So I'm very excited for Saturday Night Live. At least it's going to be fun. That's all. It'll be cruel. It'll be mean. Yes, people will get hurt, and newscasters will never be able to read the transcripts of the White House press briefing. But okay, it'll be fun.
Yeah, I can. I can just see this on Saturday Night Live.
Oh yeah. Well, so, great. I love Mario Cantone. I love him. I've loved him since Sex and the City. I love him. For me, he's always going to be Anthony. Charlotte, do you like the dress? Hates it. Next. He's so great. So It'll be fun. It'll be damaging. It'll be cruel. It'll be obnoxious. It'll be vulgar. And it's going to make him a big star. It's going to make him a very big star. Mario? Yeah, he's going to get huge. Huge. Love that. But anyway, I got to tell you, this whole pile here, and this is a lot, is all the GOP revolting. All of them. Everyone from Jennifer Rubin, all the conservative pundits, all the writers, all the opinionators, all Harvard professors, all Foreign Policy magazine. I mean, it's all over the place about how this man is such a poor leader. How some of them are even tweeting under hashtag MAGA and saying, walk away now before it's just Sean Hannity sitting in a room by himself, whispering over and over again, Donald Trump is a great American. Donald Trump is a great American. Make America great again. And drooling, Rosebud. Yep. Everybody's trying to tell the conservatives, get off of this ship because this is the Titanic.
The Randi Rhodes Air Force. The Randi Rhodes Show is live on RandiRhodes.com and the free Progressive Voices app for Android and iOS. Visit the App Store or ProgressiveVoices.com now.
This is the top of the hour from the Progressive Voices channel on TuneIn. Instead of commercials, you've got progressive news and interviews right here at the top of the hour.
Hello, Progressive Voices TuneIn listeners. I'm Casey Hobbs.
And I'm Shane Mason, and we're the hosts of Nurse Talk Radio.
Here's what we're talking about this week. Well, you'd have to be living under a rock to avoid the roaring conversation about healthcare in our country, and I'm glad we're at least having a conversation. Whether it's California's SB 562, single-payer healthcare, or the just-released Republican plan, it becomes one of the nation's most critical issues.
Some say there's no way the Republican bill can pass, but others are skeptical and very concerned that it will.
It's frightening, the prospect of millions of Americans losing their health care. Alex Lawson is the executive director of Social Security Works, and he says McConnell either way has the votes or will by next week. How is this happening? Alex is on the line with us to talk about all of this.
Alex, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
So first off, can you tell us why Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell delayed the August recess by 2 weeks?
There's a few different ideas there. One of them is to get other business done. The user fee agreement, for example, which is a big one that flies under the radar where the pharmaceutical industry oftentimes makes out like bandits, and that's probably going to happen in that time. I think it was also an indication from McConnell that he was serious to twist arms, bully, bribe, do what it takes to get across the finish line with Trump Care. So I think it was also a message to his caucus.
Recently, a rare joint statement was released by the American Healthcare Plans and the Blue Cross Blue Shield Association. In a letter to McConnell, they say the cruise provision is not workable in any form and undermines protections for those with pre-existing conditions. Does this statement change anything?
It's difficult to see. If there is enough time in the politician and the corporate media brain to actually pay attention to this and give it the amount of focus that it needs when you're talking about 1/6 of the economy. The cruise amendment is for the right. You wonder if it gets knocked out, is Cruz going to go back to a no? Is Lee going to go back to a no? It's unclear, but I don't actually think they have their worries on that end of the caucus. It's obvious they have to pay attention to both sides, but I mean, when it came to the polar payoff or the Klondike, there's some cutesy names for it, but it's the hundreds of millions of dollars in bribery that was directed to Lisa Murkowski to get her votes, Capito in West Virginia, Toomey and Heller in Nevada. I think that's actually where McConnell is really spending his time whipping the caucus by any means necessary. So what I think it looks like right now, and it's a coin flip, and we have all from now until the vote, and the CBO will come out with numbers, and we have people all over the country taking action. But right now it looks like Rand Paul is a no, and Susan Collins is a no. So we need to find at least one more senator at a no, and then they don't have the numbers. I personally think you need to find two, because if it's just one, then Rand Paul would be able to be the deciding vote, and he'll give that to McConnell if it's just him. But I think if we find two, what will happen is, as soon as we actually get two people on the record, two more saying no, then you'll get six more, right? Because then it's not going to happen. So everyone's like, oh, yeah, me too, I'm brave. But at the moment, McConnell will allow Susan Collins and Rand Paul to vote no, right, to show that there's some modicum of independent thought in his caucus.
Who do you think's the most likely to flip? Is Murkowski in Alaska?
Heller, Murkowski, Capito, I think, would be pretend. Portman is pretend. But Capito in West Virginia, Heller in Nevada, and Murkowski in Alaska are real possibilities to vote no on this.
And so how did this bill change from the first draft to this one? I know it's undergone some revisions, but what have those been? Because it's been kind of hard to keep up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be flip about this. The policy details definitely matter. And, you know, you should dig into them. But the main point is it hasn't changed. It's the same piece of garbage that it was when it rolled out. It's just little things around the edges that are really to buy off different people, to make it seem like it's getting better when it's not. It's mainly getting worse. I mean, it's still tens of millions of people would lose their health insurance. It destroys Medicaid, fundamentally destroys Medicaid, the largest provider of long-term care in this country, as well as providing health care to millions of children and millions of others.
Absolutely. We really appreciate it. Anything else you want to share before we go, Alex?
Just the most radical act you can take is to get organized. I know all your listeners are already involved, but stand with your neighbors when you raise your voices, and then we're louder together.
Check out our show at nursetalksite.com and listen every Saturday and Sunday right here on Progressive Voices.
You've been listening to Top of the Hour on the Progressive Voices channel on TuneIn. Commercial-free interviews and exclusive progressive news and information at the top of the hour.
Mary had a little man. The fault.
We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream.
Change has come to America.
Believe it. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Anthony Scaramucci has blown his own lid in an interview with Ryan Lizza filled with expletives that is unbelievable, and we'll quote as much as we can on a family program like ours.
I'm not trying to suck my own expletive.
I'm not Steve Bannon. I'm not trying to suck my own bleep, he said. I'm not trying to build my own brand off the bleeping strength of the president.
I'm not Steve Bannon. I'm not trying to suck my own you-know-what. I'm not trying to build my own brand off the effing strength of the president. I'm not Steve Bannon. I'm not trying to suck my own blank, he said. We'll leave it there.
I'm not trying to my own expletive.
Quote, Reince is a blanking paranoid schizophrenic. That's what he said Scaramucci told him. Scaramucci also went after the president's chief strategist, Steve Bannon. There are some expletives he said in that one we cannot repeat.
Trying to suck my own bleep. Bleeping, see if I can bleep block these people the way I bleep blocked Scaramucci.
Reince is a expletive deleted, paranoid schizophrenic, a paranoiac.
Reince, previous we're talking about, is a expletive, paranoid schizophrenic, a paranoiac.
He says, oh, Bill Shine is coming. Let me leak the expletive thing and see if I can expletive block these people the way that I blocked Scaramucci for 6 months.
Reince is an expletive paranoid schizophrenic, a paranoiac. Yes, that was a new one for me.
I'm not trying to expletive my own expletive.
Classy. It's so classy and so presidential. I think the word every, pundit last night was groping for. Autofellatio is what he was talking about. Autofellatio, everybody. It's something, a dog can kind of do, which is why they're happy to lay around the house all day. One can only hope that that is what Bannon does. Lays around the house all day. Looks like he lays around the house all day. I mean, honest to God, this is unbelievable. The White House starts, it sounds like Quentin Tarantino wrote the dialogue that comes out of, except Quentin Tarantino's dialogue is dirty, but it's dirty and smart, and this is just dirty and stupid. He just ran. I swear to God, Scaramucci is like on some coke-fueled rant. And I know everybody I've ever spoken to, Michael D'Antonio, who wrote the book on Donald Trump, a lot of people that have done all kinds of stories and books on Donald Trump, they have all told me, David K. Johnston, who's been, writing about Donald Trump for years as a tax writer for the New York Times. Like I said, Michael D'Antonio, who wrote The Truth About Trump, which is an amazing book. They all tell me, no, Randy, he doesn't do drugs. He doesn't. Then why did he have to go to that, really, really wickedly weird doctor and write his own health letter and then ask the doctor to sign it, and the guy was like a ponytail guy. No offense to ponytail guys. But that's his doctor. I mean, if he was a bunhead, you'd go crazy, the conservatives would. But he was just a ponytail dude. I mean, honest to God, man, I think he's on some drug-fueled rant, this Scaramucci dude. He just can't stop. He keeps on going and going and going and going. It is the weirdest thing. And when he talks about how smart he is and how successful he is and how smart Trump is and how successful. I mean, it's like some coke-fueled rant that you hear from some guy 4:00 in the morning. Not that I would know anything about it, right? Hey, I was in my 20s. I was a DJ in New York when I was 23. I was the youngest DJ in New York at 23. All these 40-something-year-old guys, what, you think I don't know? I was a rock jock, for God's sake. The way you got a record played was inside the album, and then the CD would be a little glassine, envelope. Listen to this.
When the journalists who actually know who the leakers are, like Ryan Lizard, they know the leakers. Jonathan Swain at Axio, these guys know who the leakers are. I respect them for not telling me because I understand and respect journalistic integrity. However, when I put out a tweet and I put Reince's name in the tweet, they're all making the assumption that it's him because journalists know who the leakers are. So if Reince wants to explain that he's not a leaker, let him do that.
Okay, so here you have Reince Priebus having to deny that he's a leaker of publicly available documents. Okay, what's really pissing off Anthony Scaramucci is the fact that very few eyeballs were on this deal he's got. Okay, this deal to sell his hedge fund, Skybridge Capital, to the Chinese government. Okay. That's what's going on. And, all you people out there with your, Hillary Clinton sold uranium to the Russians. Yeah, no, she didn't. There is inside the Treasury, there is a board. And the board is made up of the Secretary of State and all kinds of other, officials from the government, cabinet members, the Secretary of the Treasury, the Secretary of State, to look at foreign business transactions. And they have to approve them. And so the uranium company was a Canadian company. And the Canadians were getting the uranium from the United States. Okay, they were mining it here, but they owned it, just like the pipeline, just like the freaking Dakota Access and what's the other one? The big long, Oh, you know what I'm talking about. And so that has to be approved by our State Department. That has to be approved by the Treasury. That has to be approved by all these people, right? And that board is called CFIUS. And the people that sit on CFIUS are the cabinet members. And Hillary was one of those cabinet members when they approved the sale of a Canadian mining company to the Russians. And that's exactly what's happening with Anthony Scaramucci's Skybridge Capital. Same thing. It has to get approved by CFIUS, who are the cabinet members. And what do you bet me that Reince wasn't for it? What do you bet me that Steve Bannon, who sits on our National Security Council, isn't for it? Or Rex Tillerson isn't for it. And Anthony's got to sell this damn thing. And he's selling it to the Chinese. And it's under review right now at the Treasury Department by all the cabinet members that sit on CFIUS. So he goes and attacks freaking Reince. And Trump falls for it. Trump actually fired Reince today. He just fired him. And he put General Kelly from Homeland Security as his chief of staff. I mean, this is just bizarre. And so I'm looking at who the deputy secretary at Homeland Security is. Her name's Elaine Duke. I doubt very much Trump is going to make her the director of Homeland Security. She is the deputy secretary right now. But it looks to me like she got her business management degree from Southern New Hampshire University. Now, isn't that an online school? Is it? They have a campus, but it's an online school, right? Yeah, no, I just, I don't know. I don't know. So this is all new. This is all very, very, very crazy, very interesting. But I will tell you this. The Republican revolt is at full throttle. I mean, not in the Senate and not in the House, okay? But everybody else that's looking at what's going on here. I mean, Jennifer Rubin, oh my God, she wrote devastating stuff today. You've got a Harvard professor who wrote in Foreign Policy magazine, The 10 Signs of Creeping Authoritarianism, and that Donald Trump is becoming a dictator. Then you've got another piece by Connor Friesdorf in The Atlantic that says, it quotes every, Republican of import, Tucker Carlson and all the Trump boosters and Sean Hannity and, all these people saying that, it's really time for you to move on. It really is time for you to let go. This guy is crazy. This guy is garish. He's ostentatious. He's, completely devoid of understanding of ordinary people. He thinks you're all stupid. He thinks you're the dumbest people that ever walked the face of the earth. He talks in circles. He repeats stock phrases. He has nothing new to offer. He never apologizes. He didn't understand what was in the health care bill. He didn't understand the House health care bill. He didn't understand that the Senate didn't have a health care bill. He still thinks he's smarter than all the generals. He thinks that he's so smart that he requires zero expertise or zero experience because he's so damn smart that he just knows things through osmosis. Nobody has to counsel him. Nobody has to inform him. Nobody has to educate him about, how to read the Bureau of Labor Statistics or what the healthcare bills actually say And then they say how stupid everyone around him is. They say that Jared Kushner was a sitting duck for Russian intelligence operators. And he took a meeting with a Russian banker because the Russian ambassador and spy master asked him to. He wanders into meetings with Russian intelligence operatives, unaware. He doesn't read the email or anything that's fully before him because he's too busy. He doesn't know enough to know what's important. He's inattentive to very important things like filling out his security clearance form accurately. He's obsessed with things like leaks instead of the substance of the issues. He's obsessed with things about his own image. He's a 30-something-year-old that's convinced of his own brilliance, whose knowledge and experience outside of real estate is scant. But he thought he could fake his way through governing at the highest levels. And that's just his son-in-law. Now they're talking about Scaramucci going, how did he not realize that these documents were completely public and have been, publicly available since July 23rd? Why did he go after Reince Priebus? And I'm saying, okay, fully connect the dots. And remember that Scaramucci has a deal that has to go before CFIUS and they have to approve the sale of Skybridge to a Chinese investment, to a Chinese government bank. I mean, these people are just, they're disgraceful. Jay in Nevada.
Good morning or good afternoon, Randy. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Well, I was telling Howard, I think John McCain, a great American hero, stuck his thumb where the sun don't shine.
I thought
Trump.
Yeah.
How dare you not call me an American hero for spending 7 years in a concentration camp, you 5-time draft dodging little sissy.
Oh, no, I don't think that was it at all. Because
No, but I think there might have been a little bit in
no,
there.
I mean, here's why I can't figure out what the hell John McCain is up to. John McCain gave this really, passionate floor speech about how you should go to regular order, and that means the committee's draft. The tax part comes from the Ways and Means or the Tax Committee, and the healthcare part comes from Health, the Healthcare Committee, and he gave this speech, and then he voted not to use that process. So
right.
I think what put him over the edge last night was the Scaramucci story, that he realized that this was a grotesque, the most classless president he'd ever served, the most ill-equipped, ill-informed, unwilling to learn, inexperienced, heinous, ugly, idiot that he'd ever seen come down the pike. And he wasn't going to do it. And I love that he did it right in front, standing 3 inches from Mitch McConnell, who looked completely devastated by it.
And that's the reason why I'm saying that he also gave a little dig to Trump, because if you look how he stood with his hand stretched out for a good 10, 15 seconds, and then made that immediate jerk down to the thumb. I mean, it was poetic, and I'm standing here waiting for you, and I want you to see what I'm doing. Boom! I just put the hammer on you.
I don't think it had anything to do with what Trump said.
Well, you're probably right. And then I was when
I swear to you, I think that Scaramucci designed some sort of strategy to take your eyes off of the prize, which was this healthcare bill last night, and the fact that they knew it was going down. Somehow they knew that they would lose enough people. That the thing was going down because they saw the same press conference I saw yesterday with 4 Republican senators saying this is a piece of crap, this is a pig in a poke, this is a disaster, blah, blah. And Scaramucci decided to distract everybody with this, crazy phone call to Ryan Lizza, which the media picks up as bait instead of covering Bill Browder's testimony, which was devastating.
Right, and then one other thing. The other day when I called in, I was telling Howard, the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, if you think about it like this, an analogy of, you go to take your car and you get a tune-up. Change the oil filter, the spark plugs, check the tires, and wiper fluid. That's a tune-up. You don't overhaul the entire engine and blueprint it out. That's what they should do with the Affordable Care Act.
It's what they should have been doing over the last 7 years.
To speak to Randy, call now, you bastards. 561-270-3844.
Hello.
The Randi Rhodes Air Force.
Big protein, big flavor, big packs, little carbs. Of course, it's Herky Jerky. Herky Jerky is our favorite snack here at the Randi Rhodes Air Force, but you can't get the best stuff at the gas station. If you love jerky, you must order it online now from the best purveyors of jerky I have ever found, Herky Jerky. Herky Jerky, of course, is the official snack of the Randi Rhodes Air Force, and it comes in elk, buffalo, beef, bacon, oh yes, bacon, hot, mild, or 14 other incredible flavors. Now, of course, there's the new jerky, which is nitrite and preservative-free beef jerky in 4 flavors. And for the month of July, $5 off not only the 4 flavors of the new jerky, but $5 off on all of the full pack products, the bacon, the venison, the buffalo, the elk too. Promo code is July. Just go to herkyjerky.com and enter promo code July. And don't forget, Herky Jerky is celebrating 8 months with the Randi Rhodes Show, and the Herky Jerky owners would like to thank all of the loyal customers who have supported us. They're a small business, they're very grateful, and so are we.
I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1917. That was the day more than 10,000 African Americans marched down New York's Fifth Avenue in what is known as the Silent Parade. The protest came in the aftermath of the July 2nd East St. Louis race riot and a number of lynchings in Texas. Organized by black scholar and activist W.E.B. Du Bois, James Weldon Johnson, and the NAACP, the Silent Parade protested lynchings and anti-black violence. Children led the march dressed in white. Women, who were also dressed in white, followed them. Men dressed in dark suits marched behind. It was considered the first public protest of racial violence in the United States. Alexis Newman describes the scene as the parade proceeds to Madison Square. The marchers carried banners and posters stating their reasons for the march. Both participants and onlookers remarked that this protest was unlike any other seen in the city and the nation. There were no chants, no songs, just silence. Some signs read, "Mother, do lynchers go to heaven?" and "Mr. President, why not make America safe for democracy?" Protesters hoped President Woodrow Wilson would make good on his election promises to promote rights for blacks. But Wilson took no action. In fact, he opposed anti-lynching legislation and continued segregationist policies in federal offices. In an editorial for the New York Age, James Weldon Johnson pointed out, quote, that their brothers and sisters, people just like them, were Jim Crowed and segregated and disenfranchised and oppressed and lynched and burned alive in this, the greatest republic in the world, the great leader in the fight for democracy and humanity. Labor History in 2 brought to you by the Illinois Labor History Society and The Rick Smith Show.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
And then the president goes to Long Island, where Scaramucci is from, and he gives a speech in front of police officers. And this was his advice to the police officers.
And when you see these towns, and when you see these thugs being thrown into the back of a paddy wagon, you just see them thrown in, rough. I said, please don't be too nice. Like when you guys put somebody in the car and you're protecting their head, you know, the way you put their hand over. Like, don't hit their head, and they've just killed somebody, don't hit their head. I said, you can take the hand away, okay?
Oh. He's vile. He is vile. He's telling the police officers to go ahead and use police brutality against suspects, to be the judge, jury, and the executioner. He's saying, don't be nice to people that you're arresting. But, being arrested doesn't mean you're guilty of anything. This man is so bizarre. Listen, the Bush administration was a disaster too. It was a complete and utter disaster. He took us to war, never paid for it, put it on the country's credit card, crashed the entire economy. Banks went out of business on his watch. Guys were being deployed 3 and 4 times with one leg, one arm. And being redeployed. It was a sick time in America's history. It was, just a horrendous. You had Darth Vader as the vice president. You had the creepiest policies. You had people losing their houses, losing their jobs in droves. But this is a complete con job. This is like the extension of Bush. This is Bush on crack. This is bizarro world. And every time we have a Republican president, we have all this happening. Every time. And the only thing that's missing here, first of all, nobody can keep a job with this guy for more than, 3-4 months. It's the most amazing thing in the world. He's a complete and utter backstabber. He trusts no one because he's not trustworthy. And he knows it. What a strange administration this is. Now, when you elect a Republican, I'm kind of ready. I'm ready. I start collecting gold coins again. I put it in my IRA because I know what they do to the market. I know what they do to our economy. I know what they do to ordinary Americans. This man ran as a populist and people were suckered. They were just sold a bill of goods. And like they can really believe that a guy that has a house that looks like Saddam Hussein's palace, a guy who craps in a gold toilet, a guy who sleeps in a gold-encrusted bed, who puts his children, Uday and Qusay, in the White House as senior advisors and runs this company this country as a company, an authoritarian, one-man, small family-owned and operated business that's gone bankrupt 6 times, is a good bet for you. How is that possible? Why do you keep doing this? Why? Why do you keep voting for the same damn thing in a different package each time? Now, I mean, Bush Jr., it was so obvious that he was dumb as a rock. So completely obvious. He was another one that didn't get intel briefings. He was another one that had somebody read it to him, and then he would just brush him off. Remember Harriet Myers? His White House wife. She read him on August 6th, the daily presidential briefing. Osama bin Laden determined to strike within the United States. August 6th. It happens on September 11th. He's in a second grade classroom reading My Pet Goat. I mean, you keep voting for the same person in a different package. Paul in Woodinville.
Yeah, Randy, you've really nailed it right there with the reason he doesn't trust anybody is because he knows that he's not trustworthy.
He knows he's guilty as hell. He knows that, listen, it's one thing to cut corners. It's another thing to stiff people, to run a fraudulent university, to stiff stockholders, to not pay, anybody that ever worked for you, including law firms and drywallers and window installers. I mean, this man has a track record of just crapping all over anybody that does good work for him. So why does Reince, or why does the Republican Party at large, or why does Scaramucci now think that he's somehow, going to be loyal to them?
Well, they think, by the way, the root word of Scaramucci is scary.
You know what it is? I swear to God, they are all a victim of abused, like the abused wife, the abused husband. They keep going back thinking they're going to change them.
Well, how much do you want to bet that even in the Trump family, they're all liars to each other?
I mean, I don't really care. All I know is that, let them go run their family business already. I just don't care. The idea that, that Jared Kushner is in charge of everything but doesn't even read a basic email and wanders into a meeting with a Russian intelligence officer or three is bizarre. I mean, this is crazy.
Well, the ineptitude of Trump is he's embroiled and embattled on every front, and he causes it himself. Every one of these things he causes. I don't know. The thing is right here. Let's look at the healthcare for a second, though. The good news here is there is a giant void, and nature abhors a void. There's an opportunity for not just Democrats, but an opportunity to convince people that, look at Obamacare is the best that the market insurance approach could come up with. They obviously couldn't come up with something better. The only reforms to Obamacare, I think you'll agree with this, Randy, are steps in the direction of single payer. Those are the only types of reforms you could make, right?
Well, I mean, at least letting older people come out of the exchanges and allowing them to buy into Medicare would solve a lot of the premium problems, because the older people, people over 50, we use health care more often than people under 50. So,
right. But
the premise of insurance is that the healthy pay for the sick, just like the people who are accident-free pay for people who have accidents. That's what the insurance market is. So if you wanted to bring down premiums, you would get the older people into Medicare. So that would be a good start. That would solve a lot of the premium problems.
Okay, but the market, the traditional model for insurance doesn't fit healthcare. The model that you use for your car, your house, and your car's insured for a finite dollar value. Thank you very much. You told your car, here's your money. Your house the same way. Your house burned down or sustained damage, here's your money. You can't just say, you need my mom just had open heart surgery last week. You can't just say, your heart's gone, bummer. Well, here's $30,000. Hope you can get a nice job done, because all of the expense after the surgery is nursing and recovery. Mm-hmm. So you can't do that. And then there might be other problems. You can't just say, I'm sorry, you're out of it. We went this far, but we can't still help you. So the next step is single payer, and now it can be suggested by Democrats to say, okay, you didn't like Obamacare. This seems not to be working. We need to start thinking about single payer options.
Well, single payer is Medicare for all. So, I mean, that's what I'm talking about.
We're not that far away,
and
Betty,
start down that road to relieve the premium pressure on people would be to allow people over 50 to buy into Medicare, and then I buy a supplemental policy, to pay for the 20% that Medicare doesn't pay for. So all I would need is co-insurance for 20% of the cost of my open heart surgery and the, physical therapy or whatever else I'm going to need after that. And that takes the pressure off of the marketplace for younger, healthier people.
That's true.
So
listen to this. More than 45% of the people in the country are covered by some sort of single-payer program right now. For instance, you have almost 60 million, 55 million on Medicare, 75 million on Medicaid. You have 21 million veterans who are eligible for the VA, and 5.5 million people on the Native American Health Service. That's more than 45% of the nation. The rest of the working people have to scrap for some kind of crappy market insurance. That's the problem.
Well, no. And then you have, only 7% scrapping because the rest get their insurance from their employer. So they're only paying half a premium because the employer is paying the other premium. So I'm saying that most Americans would be very happy to keep that system, okay? And I'm saying for the 7% of people who are having a scrap like me in the exchanges, which is what they say they're concerned about, the premiums in the exchanges, the amount of people that are offering insurance in the exchange, the number of companies that are participating in these 38 counties is slowly, diminishing to 1 or 0 in places in Iowa, right? So I'm saying if you really wanted to do something, just let the people who are over 50 buy into the single-payer Medicare system, and then you would have just young, healthy people who don't work for companies with 50 or more employees, buying health insurance at a decent price.
But doesn't it also make sense to tell employers, we're going to let you get out of the... I don't know why Mitch McConnell doesn't say our top political priority is to get employers out of the health insurance business. Doesn't that make sense? They keep talking about what a burden it is and what a huge part of your compensation package is. Why don't you just say, look, we can get you out of that business with single payer?
I understand what you're saying, but as far as how many people need to move from the exchanges into Medicare or single payer, it's a very small amount of people. Only 7% of Americans get their insurance from the exchanges to begin with.
Right now, yeah.
Right now, right? And so I'm saying let the people over 50 in the exchanges move to single payer. Let them move to buy into Medicare. And that will take the burden off the rest of the people who are the 7%. Their premiums will come down. I mean, that's just a no-brainer.
I would say that's right. That's probably the biggest first step we could make.
Right.
Yep.
So, it's just a natural thing that the Republicans should have been for to bring premiums down. But they aren't for that because they're for nothing except destroying the entire Obamacare exchanges. And listen, that skinny bill was given a quick score. 16 million people would have lost their health insurance, and the Republicans think that's a good deal. So 16 million people who are older and sick, who are driving up the cost of the premiums, they should just go and die somewhere in a corner. That was their solution to this mess. And the Democrats' solution, it has been for years, is to let people 50 and over buy into Medicare. And that will bring down premiums for the younger people who have a mandate to buy health insurance and resent it because it's too expensive for them. And then Ted Cruz comes along and goes, well, let's sell bare bones policies that cover absolute. I mean, they're so wrong so often. And the question still remains, why do people continue to vote for them? Christopher in Rochester.
Oh, love you. Love you so much.
Love you long time. Time.
I just, with regards to the president actually telling people to go out and violate the Civil Rights Act of 1871, 42 U.S.C. Code 1983 actions, acting under the color of law to beat people. This is he's called people to directly violate the Civil Rights Act. And this is insane. I mean,
that's what Jeff Sessions has been quietly doing, which is why Jeff Sessions is still there. because Jeff Sessions has been quietly taking friends of the court briefs, saying that Title VII doesn't protect LGBT. It doesn't protect lesbians. It doesn't protect gays. It doesn't protect transgender. I mean, they are literally the government has inserted itself into a private lawsuit that was brought by an employee of a Long Island a parachute company, you know, where you can go skydiving?
Yes.
Okay, so there was an employee who was taking people skydiving on behalf of this Long Island parachute skydiving company, and he was a gay man, and he said that he was discriminated against and Jeff Sessions has the government writing friends of the court brief saying that this man who was gay has no protections under Title VII because Title VII doesn't actually cover anybody for sexual orientation. I mean, you know, these people are dismantling civil rights. Yesterday's homework section has a whole section on civil rights is dead in this country. And then today you see the president talk to police officers and tell them, go ahead and rough up suspects, people who are just suspected.
It happened to me, Randy. In 1991, if you lived in New York City, I brought a successful case with 59 depositions against the New York City Police Department before I moved to Rochester. And I was gay bashed at an ACT UP demonstration. And the city eventually settled for $350,000. And during all those depositions, and you know what hell depositions can be, and interrogatories, you learn. My stuff was videotaped. I was very lucky. Mine was videotaped. Newsday, and remember the whole Mullen Commission on Police Corruption about how they would tune people up. Do you remember that stuff that went on in
What
New York?
year was that? Was that like around the Abner?
1991.
So that was the Amadou Diallo years. That was the Rudy Giuliani years.
Yes, and actually I was beaten under the Dinkins year. Then later on, it was Giuliani started piling up on this. And the thing is that regardless of who is mayor, that the corruption and the fact that the cities go ahead and indemnify, and for your listeners, indemnify means
hold
that
harmless.
The city will pay all of it. We'll pay whatever claims there are, and that these cops, that's where we came up with the term test-lying out of the Mullen Commission. And there's this pattern and practice of behavior, and every time somebody brings a civil lawsuit, even in my case, we finally proved that you could get a civil judgment against a New York City police officer and it not have any detrimental effect on their file. Can you imagine if they said that they want to treat people like, you know, corporations, that your behavior should be just and right? If you had 10 lawsuits that you settled, 20,000, 300,000, wherever it is, that in of itself isn't enough to say you shouldn't have a job. And now we have a president of the United States who's telling people under the color of law, go ahead, go all the way back to the Civil Rights Act of 1871. Go ahead and feel free. Take your hand away as you push that person into the car or the paddy wagon and let them hit their head. And it's okay, because I've got your back. This is the United States. This is not acceptable behavior out of our president, out of anybody.
Well,
thank God you're doing your work.
Well, thank God that you don't take no for an answer, and that you push through in the courts too, because it is the
3 years.
Yeah.
3 years.
I know.
Of having every aspect of your life turned upside down. When you go to therapy for post-traumatic stress disorder, every brain scan that you have, every copy of those things, every private thought you've ever had. This is the type of stuff that they put you through so that you get worn down.
Yes.
Years later, I'm 54 years old. I was just a kid back then.
Yeah.
And now in Rochester, New York. But man, the behavior is still the same.
It is. It absolutely is the same. I mean, there's no question. And there are people out there that know it and feel it and live it and talk to their kids about it every single day. Because on some fronts, when it comes to police brutality, nothing has changed except the camera.
To speak to Randy, call now, you bastards. 561-270-3844.
Hello.
Randi Rhodes. Air Force.
Yeah, you could buy tile at a chain store if you wanted to. You could wait for a kid to try and answer your questions about what's this made of, or how do I install it, or what's in stock. But what if you wanted serious craftsmanship? What if you wanted custom design, handmade to order from your imagination or an inspiration photo that you love. Probably you think you can't anymore, but I did. When it was time to shop tile, I came across a family-owned business that still handcrafts each and every individual tile, matching your colors, your inspiration, your design. Tempest Tile Works. They're based in Portland, Oregon, and they still handcraft the most magnificent tile. Let them match to your fabrics or to your countertops or to anything you can envision for your bath or kitchen. Teeny tiny tiles to oversized, their art or yours. It's all doable, it's all affordable, and it's all individually made just for your project. Visit Tempest Tile Works and look at their amazing gallery of designs and styles and give up the chain stores. Tempest Tile Works, custom made. TempestTileWorks.com.
Hello, Progressive Voices Tune-In listeners. I'm Casey Hobbs.
And I'm Shane Mason, and we're the hosts of Nurse Talk Radio.
Here's what we're talking about this week. Well, you'd have to be living under a rock to avoid the roaring conversation about healthcare in our country, and I'm glad we're at least having a conversation. Whether it's California's SB 562, single-payer healthcare, or the just-released Republican plan, it becomes one of the nation's most critical issues.
Some say there's no way the Republican bill can pass, but others are skeptical and very concerned that it will.
It's frightening, the prospect of millions of Americans losing their health care.
What I think it looks like right now, and it's a coin flip, and, you know, we have all, from now until the vote, and the CBO will come out with numbers, and we have people all over the country taking action. But right now it looks like they don't have the numbers.
And so how did this bill change from the first draft to this one? I know it's undergone some revisions, but what have those been? Because it's been kind of hard to keep up.
It hasn't changed. It's the same piece of garbage that it was when it rolled out. It's just little things around the edges that are really to buy off different people, to make it seem like it's getting better when it's not. It's mainly getting worse. I mean, it's still tens of millions of people would lose their health insurance. It destroys Medicaid, fundamentally destroys Medicaid, the largest provider of long-term care, as well as providing health care to millions of children and millions of others.
Absolutely. We really appreciate it. Anything else you want to share before we go, Alex?
Just the most radical act you can take is to get organized. I know all your listeners are already involved, but stand with your neighbors when you raise your voices, and then we're louder together.
Check out our show at nursetalksite.com and listen every Saturday and Sunday right here on Progressive Voices.
Whether you're listening to me, Mark Levine, each Monday and Wednesday,
or me, Leslie Marshall, each Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday,
you can hear us from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time on the Progressive Voices Network.
Here's a sample of what you'll hear.
That Republicans hate America so much, are so unpatriotic, in fact, that they would be willing to help our greatest enemy commit espionage against the United States if it would help them win an election. They'd be willing to collude with, conspire with Russians to do basically what Benedict Arnold did with the British back during the Revolution, to work with our enemy in order to work together, Trump and Russia, against his real foe, Hillary Clinton. Are all Republicans really that unpatriotic? Again, that's Mark Levine every Monday and Wednesday.
And Leslie Marshall each Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday.
From 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time on the Progressive Voices Network.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
The President of the United States.
And when you see these towns, and when you see these thugs being thrown into the back of a paddy wagon, you just see them thrown in, rough. I said, please don't be too nice. Like when you guys put somebody in the car and you're protecting their head, you know, the way you put their hand over. Like, don't hit their head, and they've just killed somebody, don't hit their head. I said, you can take the hand away, okay?
He's disgusting. He is an impediment to progress. He is an arrogant, inexperienced, ill-advised thug. I mean, really, he's a businessman with no business acumen. If he hadn't inherited $100 million, do you really think Donald Trump would be anybody on anyone's radar anywhere? Go back to reality TV. Go back. And take all these wickedly bizarre people with you. Take the Scaramucci's with you. Take Reince. Take all of these people with you. There is nothing presidential about this president. And people say, well, we wanted something different. Okay, I get different. But did you really want somebody who was stupid, who didn't give a rat's ass about you, who was a lying sack of crap? Did you want somebody who would sign any damn thing that Russia asked him to sign? Did you want somebody that would have signed that piece of crap healthcare legislation that would have thrown 16 million people off health insurance instead of some big brain who sat down and thought, we can get the premiums down if we took the older people who use their health insurance more often and we allowed them to buy into Medicare for all. We could actually do away with a lot of the things that we pay big money for. You could actually, if we had single payer, you wouldn't need a VA. You understand that? If we had single payer, you wouldn't need Medicaid. You wouldn't need the Veterans Administration. You wouldn't need employer health insurance. You wouldn't need anything. Your salaries would go up. If you took in this way, Paul from Woodinville is absolutely right. You take, when somebody hires you, if I hire you, I'm not lucky enough to have a group big enough to even consider buying health insurance, but there will come a day and time if you just buy a stinking podcast or support the show in some other manner, like with credit cards and cash. But there will come a time when we will be 5 people or more on a payroll, and I will sit there and I will figure out what it costs to insure everybody. And of course, that's going to come out of the overall amount for their salary that I can offer. That's what business is. So can you imagine if you worked for an employer that's got over 50 employees and you're making, $42,000 a year? Well, maybe you'd make 50 because $8,000 a year is what they have to pay towards your health insurance. And then you're going to pay the other 8. So you're really out $16,000. You just don't feel it or you don't know it. But you really are $16,000 less. What if we had single payer? What if we had that? You could actually see wages go up in this country. You would see premiums, come down for the people that choose the Cadillac plans or choose, to buy something on the private market. There's always an option there, but we want a public option. We want to know if we offered people a chance to buy into Medicare, if we offered people a chance to be insured under single payer, would they do it? And if they did do it, I would do it. And if they did do it, we wouldn't need a VA. We wouldn't need Medicaid. We wouldn't need employer-based health insurance. Listen, we have full employment in this country, thanks to Barack Obama. Full employment in this country for turning this country around from an unbelievable depression. It was a depression. Everything. The stock market crashed. You lost your house. You lost your job. Everybody lost if you had a 401k or you had a pot to piss in and a window to throw it out of, either you didn't have the window or you didn't have the pot anymore. Some people lost both the pot and the window. When Bush left, I was like, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. I thought he was the worst president ever. Until this one. Bush is probably very grateful for the Trump. Took him off the worst president list, or at least, took him from the top position. But honest to God, man, there are solutions for the things that ail us. There really are. It's just that, Trump hasn't got a clue, nor, any desire to help you. He never has. He never will. He's talking to Boy Scouts about hot parties in New York and French Riviera yachting. Really, this is his world. Matt in Vancouver.
Hey, Randy, what's up?
Hi.
Well, I don't know. Sitting here looking at Twitter, reading about all these Trump pansies, as you call them, all talking about how great it is that he was thrown out today.
Who?
Last week.
How great it is that Reince was thrown out?
Yeah.
Reince Priebus left the RNC. Reince Priebus went to work for Donald Trump very, very early. Reince Priebus was the person that made Donald Trump palatable to the GOP. These people are so stupid. They don't even remember recent history, okay? You have to remember the only senator, the only one who actually endorsed Donald Trump was Jeff Sessions, who he's backstabbing with a shiv right now. And Reince Priebus had to run interference between the House Republicans and Donald Trump's candidacy, and did that for him.
Yeah, the thing that you're talking about there about Bush being, a terrible president. I was talking to a friend about this the other night too. Is that it was easy with Bush because you could point at 4 or 5 discernible things that he had done that were terrible. I mean, the war in Iraq, the lying, his incompetence, tearing up Wall Street, letting Wall Street regulate itself, and the predatory home lending. I mean, right there. I mean, there's 4 or 5 things that you could point at and say he was a failed president because of these 4 or 5 distinct actual things. With Trump, it's like this tornado of shit that just goes all over the place, and you can't point at one particular thing and say, this is why he's a failed president, because of this or because of that. I mean, I could sit here and rattle off. I'd need 20 sets of hands and 20 sets of toes to rattle off all the things that he's doing.
You see, and I don't. I understand that the big, gigantic, all of this comes from one thing and one thing only, and that is the fact that
ego.
No, he took help from the Russians. And everything that's come after is because he's covering it up. Every person that's leaking, it's not about the substance of the leaks, whether the leaks are true or not. It's about, for him, it's about leaking about Jared, and it's about leaking about, his son, Donald Jr., taking a meeting with Russian intelligence. It's also about him having Kislyak and Lavrov in the Oval Office and giving code word protected intelligence to the Russians. It's all because this man took help from Russia. And a year ago yesterday was the day he said, Russia, if you're listening. Yeah, I hope you can. Oh, yeah. Okay, it was a year ago. This has only been 1 year that we kind of knew that this man was beholden to a foreign government. Everything that Trump is doing is because he's beholden to a foreign government. It was kind of the same with W. W was beholden to Saudi Arabia. And when Saudi Arabia attacked us on 9/11, he was warned on August 6th that we were going to be attacked by a Saudi group, a Saudi Wahhabist Islamic group called Al-Qaeda, and that Osama bin Laden was he was a Saudi, and his father owned the Saudi construction company, the Bin Laden construction company. They were rich Saudis, and Bush knew that family, and they understood that we were going to be attacked by them. He turned a blind eye for whatever reason, either because he was too stupid to put it together, or because he was too lazy, or because he didn't want to know. But obviously we had a warning. And when you listen to Richard Clark and all the other people that were around the intelligence community back then, they say our hair was on fire. We knew it was coming, right? So everything that happened with Bush happened as a result of his being beholden to Saudi Arabia. And everything that's happening with Trump is because he's beholden to Russia. This is what happens when you have idiot presidents who prefer adversaries of ours.
I don't know. He seems to be running the entire White House like it's his game show.
Because that's all he knows.
That's the only thing he's ever been successful at.
And so for him, this is like a plot line in Housewives. Okay, for him, this is a plot line. This is when Meatloaf had his paint stolen by Gary Busey. I mean, really, that is what this is. And Scaramucci is Meatloaf, who just went off and threatened to beat up Gary Busey for stealing his paints. That is what happened with Scaramucci and Ryan Lizza. I mean, this is all he knows. He knows nothing. He knows nothing.
It was the only thing that he was actually mildly successful at was having B-level celebrities kiss his ass and bow down to his feet. Yeah. And then and whoever kissed his ass the best during the end of whatever, I never even watched the show, but at the end of the show, whoever kissed his ass the best got to stay on the show. Whoever didn't got fired. And
that's right. Exactly, and think about it this way. He also had on that show, I did watch that show because Howard liked it. And I used to just get, my skin would crawl, but he loved it on Sunday nights. So we had to watch it. I mean, I had to toy with whether or not to stay with him over just the phrase Celebrity Apprentice is on. Okay? So just know that's the little hell that is my life. But he did have Don Jr. and Ivanka in the boardroom, the fake boardroom back then. And the White House looks exactly the way the boardroom looked. Even Omarosa is in the freaking press briefings. I mean, it's the same thing. He thinks it's a set.
I know. He thinks it's his TV show. So once again, now we are on to, like you've been discussing on your show, his mental capacity. I mean, we're only 6 months into the presidency. People, we have 3.5 years of this guy left.
God, no.
Where are we going to be? I mean, at this time next year, I mean, God, where are we going to be?
I don't know, but I will say this. For anybody who's been listening to me since, 2004 when the show first went national, you know that I've called it. I've always called it. I told you Bush was going to take us to war. Okay, I did. And I told you he was going to crash the economy. And I saw it coming a year before. I said starting in 2007, I started saying, and people would call me up. I'll never forget all these Republican sycophants. And they'd say, you're so stupid. You don't understand a recession is 2 quarters negative growth, and we don't have that yet. So you're a liar. And September 15th, 2008, the whole economy crashed. And I was selling gold back then. And I said to people, don't be stupid. Don't be stupid. Get yourself in cash. Get all your money out of the market. Get yourself in cash and get yourself in gold. And I was right. And that's the only thing that saved my ass. Believe it or not. And you mock me. And it's the same. ITM Trading, that was our gold advertiser then, gold advertiser now. That saved my ass. Hate to tell you. Because my 401k lost 40% of its value. I started saving in that 401k in 1994. 1994, I started putting money aside. Yeah, it was fantastic. I was doing great. I could almost pay off my house. And then Bush. I'm telling you, this guy is just as dangerous. But clueless. And you keep electing stupid people who have no clue what your life is like, no clue, what's going on in your hometown, no clue what goes on inside of, the schools, no clue what goes on inside police forces, no clue that people are being brutalized on the street, or care about it. You keep on picking these guys. Keep on picking these sloppy, grievously out of their depth people. Intellectually short. Teeny tiny men whose arrogance prevents them from acknowledging what they do not know. And that is the most dangerous kind of a person. You can give me somebody with no experience and I'll train them up right. Right, Scotty? Right, Brett? I'll teach you. But don't give me somebody who's so arrogant that they think they know it all and will not learn. Cannot function with that. And that is what we have as the President of the United States. And now the communications director communicates in a way that isn't suitable for anybody under the age of 20. Can't even put his words before 10 o'clock at night on cable where you're allowed to curse. Jesus. Jeez, Pete. Pray this weekend, everybody. Hit your knees. Hit. I don't care. Rub Buddha's belly. Whatever it takes, do it. Buy a stinking podcast. Go to RandyRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.